This is our ADF journey. But before we begin, we want to take you back to how it all started. Way back to how it started.
We're fasting together, stronger forever, bonded by the trials we weather. Holding on, we harmonize together.
This was us. We were tired, frustrated, and we needed change. We knew we had to do something different. So babe, do you remember those days when you actually called me and said you were going to get a trainer? I actually thought you were joking, but next thing I know, I saw a trainer called OC in the house.
Yes, I remember that time, and that was when I actually got into exercising, with a trainer. And I remember my first lunge. It was, I got down, but I couldn't get back up.
Yeah, I was actually watching you and the trainer from the window, and at some point I thought when you had gone down to do your lunge, you weren't coming back up again.
Oh yes, that was my first time of doing a lunge in years, and I think Osi actually had to carry me up, or we had to modify the lunge to a half lunge.
Oh my God.
And it's amazing. In 1, 2, 3 months time, I was completing 5 reps of lunges, so that was great.
I mean, it was good to see the progress, which is what prompted me to join as well. And I remember those days when we were also doing joint training with OC.
Yes.
I think 3 times a week.
Yes. We were training 3 times a week, and those days were brutal. So I was lifting weights, doing lunges, working my cardio. I was hitting all my reps, everything I was doing right, but I found out that I needed to work on my nutrition, because nutrition, they say, is 80% and your workouts are 20%. So I needed to fix my nutrition. That way I could get the results that I wanted.
Absolutely. I remember us lifting weights and putting in all the work. And I also remember at some point you had talked about the importance of us looking at nutrition. And I think that's when you took the next step, which was to go research, and that's when you found the other program.
Yeah. A friend of mine told me about a weight loss program that she was on, and I could see that she had lost a lot of weight. So I signed up. The program entailed dropping of steps, a detox plan, and general nutrition management.
I remember I all of a sudden saw you one morning. You had your gear on, shoes, water bottle, and you were stepping out of the house. And I'm thinking, where are you going? And you're like, you're coming back. You have to put in 20,000 steps. For me, that was a shocker. This is you who haven't walked in a while, but for some crazy, weird reason, you just started and you never stopped.
Yes. I was determined to get my steps in. That for me was like, that started off my day well. I was determined to get my steps in, do the detox. The detox was tough. I pretty much had to be on smoothies for 7 straight days, green smoothies for 7 days, no meats, no chicken, no carbs. So it was just veggies and a little bit of fruits.
That's why I didn't join her, because I like my chicken too much. So this went on for a while, and in about 3 months, I saw a huge result in her, in terms of her weight loss, in terms of her determination. Like, she kept the 20,000 step every single day religiously, and that inspired me to join her. Now, all this was still done alongside OC, like we were
Yes,
still
a trainer.
lifting and still lifting weight and still strength training. So that combined with the nutrition and the steps, saw both of us over a few months lose a massive amount of weight together. So all of this went on for a long while.
Yes.
We saw some really good, gains in our weight, in our strength, and just in our overall lifestyle. And we kept this on until we went on that summer vacation. Remember that one?
Yes, so that vacation.
That vacation, we, to say the least, let loose and we indulged every single stop on that road trip. That's where all the gains that we had achieved
Yes.
throughout that program
Yes.
pretty much went out the window. So after the summer vacation, when we got back home, we had pretty much lost all that gain that we had over the previous few months, which is when I became so determined that I wanted to feel that same way again, but I needed a lifestyle, or we needed a lifestyle that was much more sustainable for the long run, and that's where ADF came in.
As he progressed in his ADF journey, I said, okay, I can do this. And that was when I started my own ADF journey. I started off with 16 hours and then progressed till I was consistently fasting for 36 hours.
So there's something that I know we both noticed during that fast. There was this mental clarity
Yes.
that we hadn't felt in a long time. And also, during our strength training, we noticed that we were even stronger. It was amazing. This one day, also our trainer came in and had challenged us to lift more weight while fasted.
Yes, yes, yes.
I thought he was crazy, to be honest. But for some weird reason, I was able to lift a huge amount of weight. I think you were doing about 80 kg at some point, your deadlift.
Yes.
This is something
yes.
we hadn't done before. And I was able to lift closer to about double what I had lifted in the past. So that gave us this awareness that fasting and being in a fasting state, especially doing ADF, was a game changer for the both of us.
On this particular day, I had started my day off as usual with my steps, 20,000 steps. That was normal for me. And I was waiting for my trainer to start our, workouts for the day. And while I was training with him, I had this very sharp pain in my abdomen, and I was like, Osi, we can't continue. That we need to stop.
So for me, April 14, the day you're talking about was a very crucial or critical day in our lives. I typically work out with her, but this day, I think I had a sprain, so I couldn't join them. But I didn't hear them training, so I called her to find out what was going on. That was when she told me about how she was feeling, that she had this pain, this abdominal pain that didn't allow her to complete her workout. That was when I went upstairs to check up on her, and that's where everything started to go down the drain. So I went upstairs and I found her on the bed, which was very unusual because she had just finished her workout and she still had her workout clothes on. I tried to engage her to get her from the bed. That's when she pretty much just blacked out. You can only imagine what was running through my mind. And I knew immediately that we had to take steps to take her to the hospital. So I called my daughters, packed a bag, jumped in the car, and off to the hospital we went. So on the way to the hospital, she regained consciousness, and we were hopeful that the worst was behind us. When we got to the hospital, we went through the process of getting her registered and admitted. That's when she blacked out again. At this point, the hospital staff rushed her into the ER. Fortunately for us, she was the only one in the ER on that day, and she had all the necessary help that she needed. So about 2 hours from the time I saw her on the bed, rushed her to the hospital, got her admitted, and had a conversation with the attending doctor that was around on that day. He made it clear that she needed to be rushed into the operating room because her case was very critical. So you can imagine what was racing through my mind. This was a lady who just posted her 20,000 step that morning to encourage her friend, had trained for a few minutes with her trainer, and all of a sudden we're being rushed into an operating room for a life-threatening ailment. So the operation took 45 minutes, and thank God it was successful. The doctors came and explained what they had done, and they had pointed out the fact that what they found during the operation pointed to the fact that our lifestyle, which I had explained to them prior to them going into the operating room, which included us fasting regularly, particularly ADF, our lifestyle in terms of nutrition, weight training, they felt had helped her survive that operation. That if this was somebody else, the story would have been different. So I'm glad and I'm thankful that we started ADF early on, and that had proved a key point in me having her here today with me to have the story told.
24 hours after the surgery, I was moved from the ICU to a private ward, and that is when my path to recovery began. I started, taking walks around my room, and from there, I started walking around on the corridors in the hospital. And one thing I can say is that my recovery was fast. Even, when after getting discharged from the hospital, I had to come back for a checkup, and my doctor saw me and he was like, wow, no one can tell that I had major surgery 3 days ago. And I must say that my ADF lifestyle helped with my recovery.
Absolutely. It took her way quicker than most. I was blown. I was so impressed. Even when we got home, in less than a day and a half, she was still able to, walk around the house, at least kind of stretch her legs, which I thought was impressive. And then, like you said, in 3 days, this is 3 days after her major surgery, we were back in the hospital for her checkup, and the doctors, like you said, were blown by your recovery and your progress.
Yes.
So we strongly believe that this lifestyle that we found, a fasting lifestyle, which is why we're here today and why we are promoting it, because we truly believe it. We've seen the results, we've seen the gains, and we've seen what it's done in our lives, and we're hoping we can spread the message to everyone else about the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, especially living one through fasting.
After the incident, I had to give my body time to heal. So no fasting, no exercise, and we also had a big move.
Absolutely, we had to move continents, and trust me, that wasn't an easy task. Moving from one continent to the next and having a big family made it a bit tougher than we expected, but we're here now.
Yes, so we're here and we're starting our fasting journey again. So we're asking or
And encouraging
you to join us subscribe to our channel. We will be documenting our journey with ADF with you all to see, to know that ADF is doable, it is possible to achieve.
Absolutely, and this is the whole reason we started this channel. We've seen the gains, we've seen the benefits, we've lived the life. So we're telling you, or we're educating you from a point of us having lived it in the past. So we're hoping that you would join us. We will be posting every single step that we take, our exercise routine, ADF routine. We're probably going to start very slow, right?
Yes.
We
yes,
most
yes.
likely won't jump into 36 hours, but we encourage you to join us on this journey.
Until then, keep loving, keep thriving, and let's fast together.
We're fasting together, stronger forever, bonded by the trials we weather. Holding on, we harmonize, together we fast, together we rise.